So today we are meal prepping Tuscan chicken. It is such an easy dish to make and it's so good. The amount of flavor in this dish is crazy. And it's also a super easy way to cook chicken breast since you're cooking it in sauce. So it's a lot harder to overcook it. And you can make it in bulk, which makes it really good for meal prep. We're having it with pasta today, but you can also eat it over rice, which is also one of my favorite ways to eat it. Let's taste. Let me rip off a piece of this chicken. Oh, that looks so good. Cheers. That's so good. Let me teach you how to make it step by step. I'm going to show you two different methods today. A stovetop method that is quick for a weeknight meal, and a slow cooker method that is just as delicious but much easier for big batches, for parties, or meal prep. First, our chicken breast. Chicken breasts these days are so massive that they would make a hooker jealous. But anyways, they are way too thick and very tricky to cook as is, so for both methods, we are going to cut them in half. You can cut it in the traditional method by laying them flat on the cutting board, pressing them down with one hand, then cutting across with your knife. Or honestly, these chicken breasts are so thick you can even lay them on their side and cut them in half directly. Next, I'll prepare some garlic. A hack to remove garlic skins is to mash up the garlic with your knife, and the skins will fall right off. I love garlic, so I'm going in with at least 2 whole heads, but you can use more or less depending on your preferences. Once all of the garlic is peeled and smashed, I'm going to give them a rough chop. They don't need to be super even, especially for the ones that we are throwing in the slow cooker since they're going to melt when we cook them for so long. But even for the pan version, I personally like that every bite is different with the garlic chunks, so I don't mind not chopping them up with more care. Plus, it's so much easier. That's basically all the prep we need to do today. Super easy. Now, let's get our slow cooker going first since we're just going to have to put our ingredients in and let it do its thing. First, let's add our chicken, and I'm seasoning every layer. This is an Italian dish, I'm assuming from Tuscany, so Italian seasoning seems appropriate. And paprika will give it a nice orange color. We are going to mix all of the ingredients around before we start cooking anyways, but by seasoning every layer, it is much easier to visually see how much seasoning you are putting in. I rarely measure things, which is why I'm a cook and not a baker. It is so much more of an art than a science. For this chicken, I know that adding a thin layer of seasoning across each layer of chicken will get a flavor to come out exactly how I like it. I'm just going to keep repeating this process until I run out of chicken, and there we are. We're just about done with our last layer. After that, I'm going to add in 2 pints of heavy cream. It will keep our chicken moist, and when it's mixed with all the juices from the chicken, it will turn into a creamy and delicious sauce. Follow up with some cheese. I like using parmigiano reggiano, but any firm or semi-firm cheese will do here. Experiment to see which one you like the most. Now, in with our chopped garlic and about a jar of sun-dried tomatoes. We will save some for our pan version today, but for this much chicken, I would usually use the whole jar. Tomatoes are natural flavor bombs, and since they're naturally high in MSG, in a sun-dried tomato, that flavor is concentrated and it adds so much more flavor to the sauce. Finally, season with black pepper and salt. Don't go crazy with the salt here, we can always taste and season after everything is cooked. It is so much harder to take salt away if it's too salty. Now for the fun part. Go in with your hands and mix thoroughly. We will be leaving the food in the slow cooker to cook low and slow, and we don't really want to come back and mix during cooking, so we want to make sure that the seasoning is evenly distributed now. Finally, last step is to add in half a cup of cornstarch. The cornstarch will thicken our sauce. Mix thoroughly. If the cornstarch is not distributed evenly, it'll form clumps. And if you don't have cornstarch, it's not necessary. Your sauce will be a little runnier, but it will still be delicious. Cover and just leave it to cook for 4 to 6 hours. Now I'll make a version on the stovetop for dinner tonight. I'm feeling pasta tonight, so let's get some water boiling. Don't forget to salt your pasta water. In our pan, we're going to start off with oil from the sun-dried tomatoes. Nothing goes to waste and there's so much flavor in the oil. Once the oil is smoking, place in the chicken breast to brown. Don't worry if the pan is crowded, it is actually good because an even distribution of chicken breasts will distribute heat more evenly and make sure that nothing burns. After a couple of minutes, flip the chicken breast. Oh man, look at that nice brown color. That's exactly what we're looking for. Now we can add our chopped garlic. If we had added it in the beginning, the garlic would have burned under our chicken. Follow up with our sun-dried tomatoes. Once the other side of the chicken has gotten some time to brown, let's add in some broth. We're cooking this faster, so not as much juice will come out of the chicken, and the broth will help our chicken cook more evenly and add a bit more body and flavor to our sauce. Follow that up with half a pint of heavy cream. Season with paprika and Italian seasoning, salt, and pepper. Our pasta water is boiling, so let's add in our pasta and cook to package instructions. For this spaghetti, it takes about 8 minutes, which is the perfect amount of time for our chicken to finish cooking. Now we will add a cornstarch slurry to thicken our sauce. We can't add the cornstarch slurry directly to our pot this time because the pan is hot and we will activate the cornstarch instantly to form any clumps. We could do it in the slow cooker because the sauce wasn't hot yet and we could evenly distribute the cornstarch, but here, cornstarch will just give us clumps, which isn't what we're looking for. To avoid this, add a bit of cornstarch to a small container and disperse in cold water to make what we call a slurry. Now add the slurry to our pan and it will evenly distribute in our sauce. Our pasta is ready, so let's drain and set aside. Our Tuscan chicken is also almost ready now. Just melt in some parmigiano reggiano and top off with some spinach. Mix the spinach in and it will melt instantly, and we are done. Serve with a bit of our pasta. Maybe a little more. All the cooking has made me super hungry. And of course, a nice piece of our Tuscan chicken. Make sure to scoop some of our veggies and some of our delicious sauce. Now that looks delicious. After 4 to 6 hours, our slow cooker Tuscan chicken is ready as well. Super creamy and delicious and ready to be packed.